going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the sequel to the 2019 live-action or photorealistic remake of The Lion King, and that is Mufasa, The Lion King. This is directed by Barry Jenkins, and once again, Jeff Nathanson pens the script for this. Told in flashbacks, Mufasa is an orphan cub, lost and alone until he meets a sympathetic lion named Taka, the heir to a royal bloodline. The chance meeting sets in motion a journey of misfits, searching for their destiny and working together to evade a threatening and deadly foe. A lot has already been said about the Disney live-action remakes. I've certainly said my piece about them, and just to reiterate, are they cash grabs? Yes. Are they unnecessary? Yes. Do I still want to see them? Yes, because I'm curious to see how animation translates into live action. And in this case, it's an original story to the 2019 live-action or photorealistic Lion King, so it's a bit different. It's not a direct adaptation. It's a prequel, but also a sequel to that movie as well, and I think that Mufasa is fine. This is nowhere near some of the best live-action remakes, nor is it one of the best movies of the year, but it's a passable enough movie that I think I enjoy more than the 2019 Lion King remake, because if there's one big criticism I have with that movie, is that it's essentially a shot-for-shot remake. This doesn't feel like that, and I think this really benefits from having its own original story to it. I'm just not necessarily sure how I feel about how the narrative plays out, but we'll get into that in a minute. The visuals for this movie are astounding. There are so many different landscapes that this movie goes to. For instance, waterfalls, snowy mountains, grassy plains. They capture it all so well, and it looks so realistic, even if it's just on a giant green screen and they're not actually going there to film on location, because of course they're not. It all looks so visually appealing. And one other thing that looks visually appealing too is the emotion from the animals in this. That was a criticism with the 2019 Lion King, that the animals didn't really emote all that much. Here, there's still a couple of instances where they don't emote all that much, but I think for the most part, for a good 90% of this, at least in my opinion, it felt like that they had actually captured that more on screen here than they did in the 2019 Lion King. There's a bit more of an effort to have them emote. Because of that, you were able to get behind the characters a little bit more. You can see what they're feeling. I feel like the criticism was, or the criticism would be, if they weren't emoting, that the animals would have to express verbally what they're feeling, since we can't really see it. It actually looks like their mouths are moving, and their facial expressions actually look a little different. It's not very stoic like it was in the 2019 remake. The voice cast here is also really, really good. Aaron Pierre as Mufasa. There were moments where I was like, that sounds like James Earl Jones, and it warmed my heart. And there were moments too where I said that this could morph into James Earl Jones. There's a nice little tribute to James Earl Jones at the beginning of the movie that I thought was really touching. And Aaron Pierre really just put his own stamp on Mufasa. He's not trying to do his own James Earl Jones impression, even though there are moments where you could tell that, hey, maybe that sounded a little bit like him, but it's not him trying to emulate his voice. He's trying to make it his own thing. Same with Kelvin Harrison Jr. as Taka. He's not trying to do Jeremy Irons as Scar. Everybody puts their own stamp on their own thing, and that's something that I really like. That's something that these live action Disney remakes have to do. They have to capture the essence of the original, which this clearly doesn't, nor did the 2019 one. But if you can't do that, you have to at least put your own stamp on it, make it feel like its own thing. And I felt that this did that more than the 2019 one. Barry Jenkins is also in the director's chair here, and I think he has more of a knack for this. You could tell that he's a little hamstrung by the big corporate studio system here, but he has a knack for certain shots that you probably wouldn't see in a movie like this. Tracking shots that are right in front of the characters as the characters are running right at the camera. That's not really something you would see, but it does feel very corporate, but it also feels like his own stamp. And while you could tell that he is hamstrung, you can tell that he had certain ideas and themes that he wanted to capture in this movie, and I think he hammered those home as well as he could. I just think the script is really lacking. I think the songs in this movie are really lacking, and I think the humor in this movie is really lacking. Let's talk about the script, because the script feels like it is just trying to breeze over so many different elements of this movie, which makes the pacing for this movie feel so awkward, and I guess that goes into how this is narratively structured. This is structured as flashbacks. Essentially, what this is Rafiki telling the child of Simba and Nala, as well as Timon and Pumbaa, the story of Mufasa and how Mufasa came to be the Lion King. The frame story is that it starts off as a sequel and then we go into a flashback. And you think the rest of the movie is going to be a flashback, but then there's certain moments that just keep cutting back to the present with Timon and Pumbaa and Kiara and Rafiki and their thoughts on the story. And it felt so jarring. It just threw the pacing of the movie out of whack because there would be big moments where it felt like something was building up to a big moment in the flashback. And then it was just like, oh, we're gonna flash forward now to the present with Rafiki telling the story, and we're just gonna breeze right over that. So many moments felt very breezed over in terms of pacing and narrative structure. I wasn't huge on those two things. And in terms of pacing too, this movie is 2 hours long. It feels so much longer. And I feel like maybe it's because it's just not enough story here. The plot for this movie is very, very hollow. What this movie feels like is that it's just two lions that are just going from place to place to place. Obviously, they're trying to find their destinies within each other. There's an end goal, but it's just going to be setting hopping. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So I guess that's why it felt a lot longer to me as well. And the songs just don't hit as well as they do in The Lion King or even the 2019 Lion King. Lin-Manuel Miranda, I'm not a big fan of him. I'm sorry. Like, he's got some great songs with Moana, and the rumor is that he didn't work on Moana 2, so he could work on this movie. Didn't work here because none of the songs are all that good. I'm not going to remember any of these songs by the time I finished filming this review. By the time I got home, I didn't even remember them. Let's talk about some of the characters, because a lot of the characters in this movie are forgettable. Like the main villain, voiced by Mads Mikkelsen. I feel like that should be a villain that should just be ingrained into my mind. And anytime I think of this movie, I'm going to be like, yeah, Mads Mikkelsen voiced the villain. Don't know the name of the character though. There's so many side and supporting characters in this movie that after a while I just lost track of who was who, because when you have animals that are the same breed, they all look the same after a while, so it's hard to keep track of who is who. And when you don't mention a character's name for a long time, I'm not going to remember that. And then there's something involving him too where he's after Mufasa for a certain thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've been paying attention for this whole movie. Did that actually happen? Did I just drift off for a minute? Did I miss a certain plot point? When he says, I'm after Mufasa because of this, it really confused me. And I was paying very close attention to the dialogue, to the plot, everything, and I must have just drifted off for a minute because it totally went way over my head. I was like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. In the long run, I think this movie's fine. I think it's better than the 2019 Lion King, but I have seen better Disney live action remakes and live action sequels to those remakes that have a lot more heart and soul in them. There's an attempt at heart here, but it doesn't fully hit as well as it wants to, even though Barry Jenkins has a great collection of themes and ideas that he wants to hammer home here. Mufasa the Lion King is enjoyable with just over half a bucket of popcorn. Not the worst thing I've ever seen, but yeah, a giant cash grab. But when your original live action remake or photorealistic remake, whatever you want to call it, makes $1 billion at the box office, of course you're going to make a sequel to it. Like, we're getting an Aladdin too. That thing made $1 billion too. Yeah, we're going to get them. Cash grabs for sure. These are the ones that are the cash grabs for me. So if you guys have seen Mufasa the Lion King, let me know what you think of it in the comments section below. I will leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.